I guess it's 11 a.m., so we can begin. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Leveraging AI to Create UDL-Driven and Accessible Course Content. My name is Anwar Hijaz. I'm a political science faculty at Saddleback College, and I'm also a faculty mentor for the CBC @ONE. I'm so pleased to introduce you all to our wonderful facilitator today, Elli Constantin. Elli has dedicated her career to empowering students with disabilities, starting in K-12 education and advancing to higher education. She's serving for 13 years as a DSPS faculty member at Mission College, where she led UDL trainings and championed institutional accessibility. Now, as the distance education director at Cypress College, Elli supports faculty in creating inclusive online environments. She also serves on the AI State Council and various regional and district AI committees. She's passionate about nature, and Elli enjoys camping, snorkeling, and cherishes her role as a mom, wife, daughter, and pet parent. I want to share some information about the webinar. So during this webinar, we will also be sharing out a survey link for your feedback. The link will be posted in the chat at the 30-minute mark and every 15 minutes afterwards. Your input helps us to improve and design programming that better meets the needs of our system. So we really appreciate you completing the survey at the end. Lastly, while @ONE provides badges for course completion, we do not offer badges for attending this webinar. However, if your institution requires proof of attendance for flex credit or professional advancement, please stay until the end, complete the survey, and request a copy of your responses via the Google form. This can serve as your confirmation for attendance. Thank you all, and I will turn it to you, Elli. Thank you so much.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for the hearts and the claps. I appreciate you all greatly. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Anwar and Garrick, for allowing me to be here. I feel privileged and honored. I am the current distance education director for Cypress College, previous faculty member at Mission College. Shout out to all my Mission folks on here right now. And if you need anything, just go ahead and put it in chat, and Anwar will definitely help you with that. Any links to slides. This is going to be kind of interactive webinar, so there's going to be a lot of QR codes, a lot of links, so please just look for those in chat, or if you need them, just go ahead and put them in chat. All right, so let's start off before we kind of just dive in. First of all, I want to thank everybody for being here, for taking the time out of your very busy days. We all have a lot on our plate, to learn, to be curious, to seek information about how to make our classes more accessible to everybody. That's extremely important, and I want to honor you for being here. I want to thank you as a DSPS faculty member, for somebody who spent most of her career teaching students with disabilities, and also as a parent with a student disability. I thank you very much for being here and taking this time, and I appreciate you. I also want to make something very, very clear before we dive into AI and UDL. AI, I realize, is extremely controversial, to say the least, right? Like, people have big opinions about it, big emotions, and I understand that, and I am also on that boat. However, when it comes to accessibility, I believe AI is one of the most powerful tools we have at our fingertips. Why? Because it is extremely hard work to remediate all our content. And especially if you've been teaching for like 20 years and you have to remediate all that content, right, that you've developed over the years, that's a lot of work. So AI is a tool, right, that will help with some of that daunting grunt work with accessibility. It is a tool. So you are the captain of the ship. So you are not being removed from this process. So what I mean by that is it still takes knowledge of the why behind what we're doing, right? You still need to have a fundamental understanding of UDL and accessibility. It's not going to remove you from this process because AI makes mistakes all the time. all the time. And we're going to learn that, and you're going to see that as you work more and more with AI. It makes mistakes all the time. So you have to constantly be evaluating it, evaluating your inputs, your prompts, evaluating the output. Just because AI said it's accessible doesn't mean it's accessible. So we're not removing tools that you're currently using. We're not removing your knowledge. You are a fundamental piece of this equation. So I just want to make that very, very clear. Okay. So throughout this presentation, I'm going to be saying a phrase, and when I do this in person, it's much more fun because I have the whole room chanting it. We can't really do that here, right? We can't chant it here, right? Because I can't hear you. I can't even really see you. But I want you to maybe say it in your room, no judgment, right? Or you can even in chat if you want. You can put like a little check mark in chat, and that's how I know you're there, right? You're getting it. You're chanting it, right? A little check mark emoji. And what we're going to be saying is we're going to say, always check AI. Okay, always check AI. So when we do these things, we always need to check AI. Okay, so you're going to see this check mark pop up over and over and over. And that's going to be our little visual cue to check because it makes mistakes. All right, awesome. I see the check marks coming in. Cool. And if I forget to check the AI, you remind me, right, in chat, and you put that check mark in chat and say, oh, you didn't check it. We have to kind of drill that in, make it habit. All right, so let's do a little survey, shall we? Okay, so the survey. Let me share it really quick. 1 second. Share. Oh, here we go. What resources do you currently rely on to make your content accessible right now? So what are you doing? So are you using accessibility? And you can pick more than one. Accessibility checkers. Are you using help from your college's accessibility or distance learning team? Your own knowledge of what you've acquired and learned? Built-in Canvas tools. What I mean by that is that little man, right? That little man in the bottom right corner. Peer support or help from faculty members, student feedback, DSPS, a little bit of prayer and hope. That was me starting off. So let's see where we're at. I'll give you a thank you. Thank you, Janet. So the link is in chat.
And you can scan the QR code. I see people are responding in the chat.
Yeah, there's a few people that can't are unable to scan the QR code because they're visually impaired.
Ellie, you are blocking part of the Slido code also.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ooh, there we go. Let's just get me out. There we go. Let's see. Share. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's what happens when I try to be cool. Wow, the little man is leading. That's cool. That's interesting. Oh, I love it. A couple people just pray. I love it. That's great. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So we got 58 people, 59 people. Oh, wow. Okay, this is really interesting. So this is really fantastic information. First of all, it highlights how much work you've been doing to really learn, you know, this stuff, which is not easy. And it also shows us the tools we're currently using, right? A lot of people are just using the little canvas, the little man, right, in the corner, and some people are using accessibility checkers, which is awesome. Some people are working with DSPS, okay, and some people are getting support from their college. And then there are some people that really have nowhere to turn, right? And nowhere to get support. And I think that's pretty common in a lot of colleges, not having an accessibility specialist. So I think this is wonderful information. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close this poll. And we got some responses in chat as well. Awesome. Very cool. Thank you. I'll leave the poll open if you want to continue to respond. Oh, let's see. Sorry, I'm not seeing my PowerPoint now. Oh, here we go. Okay. Are you seeing the PowerPoint behind me? Okay, good. Awesome. Okay, so before we just dive into this, let me just say that, you know, it seems to be a spectrum of tools that we're using, and we're using our own knowledge base, and we're getting feedback from our faculty peers, which I think is wonderful. So AI is just going to be adding to that. This is just going to be another tool that you can kind of almost put in that list there. It's not replacing anything. We're still going to need, you know, Pope Tech and Ally and You Do It. We're still going to need those tools, because why? AI makes mistakes, right? Always check AI. But this is just going to be another tool in your toolbox that you can use. All right, so let's back up and let's talk about what is UDL? Okay, so before we dive into the AI tools, so what's UDL? So Universal Design for Learning is a framework based on 3 different parts of the brain that aims to address diverse needs of all learners. It's a proactive approach to designing your course content. So instead of a reactive approach, it's more of a proactive approach. So you're thinking about variability and flexibility from the beginning. Okay, so it believes that the fundamental idea and principle is that students all learn differently, so teaching should be adaptable to different learning styles, abilities, and preferences. So some of the guiding principles: variability, not disability. Okay, variability, not disability. So more of a social justice model. So what does that mean? It's assuming that every person at some point in their life, depending on where they are, the environment they're in, the course they're taking, the content that's being presented, may experience some learning difficulties. If you put me in a classroom in Germany right now, guess what? I'm not going to be able to learn very well. Okay, so everybody is going to experience some sort of difficulty in learning, whether or not you're diagnosed with a disability, or you're just come from a different cultural perspective. Maybe you're a vet that just got out of you know, or the Army, and you're going back into civilian life. Maybe you're a mom who has to commute back and forth, you know, and has children at home. Everyone is going to experience some variability and difficulty in learning in different times. It supports students with diverse learning and life needs. So it's, again, not just for students with disabilities. This is for everyone. Okay, so the work you're doing is going to be for everyone, not just the exceptional students or the students with the unique needs. It anticipates and designs for variability. So the key is it's proactive, it's not reactive. So what do I mean by that? Assume you have a student, right, in your class who is maybe a student with DSPS, okay? So they take a quiz and they don't do well. And so they run to the DSPS office and they say, I need accommodations. I thought I was going to do well. I don't think I'm going to do well. I need some accommodations. Okay, so they set up the accommodation. Everything goes great. It gets delivered to your inbox. And you start to, you know, put the accommodations in place. By that time, what do you think has happened with that student? Maybe we lost that student, right? Maybe that student now is thinking they need to drop, right? You know, that was a hit to their self-esteem. So by using UDL principles, you're proactively designing from the beginning some of those accommodations and some of that, you know, that inclusive design so that students don't have to experience that. Now, I'm not saying that there's no use for DSPS, and DSPS is no one's ever going to need. Of course there are. There are students with very unique needs that need a lot of additional tailoring, of course. But this is the initial access. So it's proactive, if that makes sense. Okay. So you have the 3 networks of the brain. So the engagement, which activates the affective network of the brain. That's the why of learning. Why am I here? Why does this matter, right? We've all heard those before, right? Why should I care about this? Also, perceives threat, right? Like, do I belong in this classroom? Is this classroom, you know, accepting of me and who I am and my background? So that's the affective network of the brain. Multiple means of representation activates the recognition network of the brain. So what am I learning? So that's really the accessibility part. So when we think about like formatting content in HTML for screen readers, that's the multiple means of representation, giving students multiple avenues, multiple ramps to access the content. And then the strategic network of the brain is action and expression. That's the how. How are students going to demonstrate their learning? What are the variety of ways students can demonstrate their learning to you? And then below here, I have some websites. So if you want to learn more about this, because this can be its own webinar, honestly, I can speak 2 hours about this. If you want to learn more about it, there's the CAST website, which offers exceptional information, downloads, videos. And then I have a link to the Center for Teaching Excellence. So this is actually a playlist of just videos that starts from the beginning, which is an overview, and goes through each of the principles. So if you want to learn more, I'm sure Michelle or Anwar will put the links in the chat. Okay. So this is just a really cool image I love to share with people. It says, could you please shovel a ramp? So it's a student in a wheelchair. And the man shoveling says, but all these other kids are waiting to use the stairs. When I get through shoveling them off, then I'll clear the ramp for you. And he says, but if you shovel the ramp, we can all get in. If you shovel the ramp, we can all get in. I'm just going to let you sit on that for a second. So the work you're doing, right? Because it is work, right? Hopefully AI will make it a lot easier. Will benefit all the students, every single one of your students, not just the students that are, identified and with a disability in DSPS, all types of students, all types of learners, because neurodiversity is the norm now. It's not an outlier. It's not an exception anymore. Okay, so when you do this kind of work, it helps everybody. Okay. Okay. So now we know why, right? How can AI help? Let's dive in. So there's a lot of AI and bots, and there's a lot of things out there. This is not an exhaustive list. I'm sure that you've encountered other, AI tools. These are the lists that I've personally used. These are the tools that I've personally used that I like. And so we're not going to be going over everything, but I'm going to be reviewing them, kind of exposing them to you, but then I'm also going to be diving into some and demoing some. But this is by far not the most exhaustive list. So AI chatbots to modify assignments or contents. Ludia AI, that is a UDL chatbot. It only answers within the framework of UDL, okay, which is awesome. The universal access bot, which is what I'll be demoing with you, that's a bot that I created. So it's also trained in Universal Design for Learning 3.0 framework, and it's also trained in Canvas accessibility. So it will make anything that you give it accessible for Canvas, within Canvas. And it'll also do Word. Conmigo, I don't know if any of you guys have played with Conmigo before. Conmigo is actually free for instructors. If you have an EDU email address, you can sign up for Conmigo. It doesn't have to be in Canvas. You can just use it outside of Canvas. And it can make content student friendly. I did notice that it's a little bit more of a K through 12 tool. However, there are some good things there. It can help with formatting, creating authentic assessments and assignments. So I like Conmigo. Hemingway AI can modify the writing level of a course. So for instance, if you're an English teacher and you're very verbose, or maybe you have students that are struggling readers, maybe they're second English language learners, you can modify the reading level of your content. And then the last thing I'm going to show you, well, not the last thing, but the last thing on this page I'll show you is the accessible syllabus bot. And that's something also I created. So the syllabus bot can convert any syllabus into an accessible, student-friendly syllabus based on the accessible syllabus project out of Tulane University. So they created this format for your syllabus that takes in UDL, the UDL framework and accessibility in mind to make a very kind of accessible, student-friendly syllabus. So I'll also be showing you that. So let's look at the universal access bots. Oh, and what do we always have to do? We always have to check them. We always ask. I made them on PlayLab. Yes, we always have to check these AI. Okay. So let's take a look at the universal access bots. And you don't have to log in. And hopefully the link will go into chat. There's the QR code. You can check it out. So the universal access bot is designed to make content more accessible and digestible for diverse learners. It aims to simplify content remediation and support instructors in designing the materials that need ADA compliance and promote inclusive learning. Am I covering the QR code? No? Okay, good. All right. So let's take a look at what I did. So here is my sample assignment. Okay, so it's a history course. So watch the West Hidden History, write a review, analysis, connecting it to historical themes. Your response should be thorough and demonstrate understanding. The paper should be at least 750 words, follow standard formatting. Make sure to include a summary and an analysis addressing key points from the film. Consider questions like, what stood out to you? How does this relate to what we've discussed? Is there anything important to note? Your review should be clear and well thought out. Submit it by the due date for full credit. The link to the film is provided below. Okay, so here is our sample assignment. And this is the prompt I'm going to use. So revise the following assignment to include multiple means of expression and engagement. Make the assignment authentic. Also include additional accessible resources students can use if they need support, such as human caption videos. Make sure the assignment is clear and concise using student-friendly language. Include an overview and objective directions and rubric. So I would like this to go through POCR too. I want it to be OEI aligned, and the bot that I created also is trained in the OEI rubric. So it will give you feedback based on the OEI rubric as well as making it accessible. Make sure to include information on instructor feedback within 24 hours of assignment completion. So you want to make sure you put as much information into the prompt. If you have specific students that have specific needs, put it in there. right? Like I have a student that can only read at this level, or I have a student who's a second English language learner, or I have, whatever that is, put as much information on there. Okay, so let's see what the Universal Access Bot did. So it said, welcome to the, let me make sure this is, you can see it. Yep, you can see it. Okay, cool. It says, welcome to the Universal Access Bot. Are you ready to get started? Yes, I am. Great. How can I assist you today? Are you looking for help with accessibility remediation, universal design, something else related? Feel free to share any specific barriers or subject matter you want to address. So all I did was I put that prompt that I just showed you in here, and then I pasted the assignment right after. That's all I did. You can also, if it's in a document, you can attach it here, or you can put a PDF up and it will read it. But you want to make sure you put revise the attached document or the uploaded document, right? So be very specific. Okay, so that's all I did. I put the prompt and I pasted the assignment. So let's see what it gave me. So it gave me an assignment overview. So it gave me a title, an objective, which I did not have, which is very nice. Looks like it did some chunking, right? Some nice formatting to make it more visually appealing, less of a visual overload. Assignment directions, broke it down. And it said, choose your format. So now it's giving me options for action and expression, which I did not have. Before I only had an essay. Now it's giving me some options for the student. You can write a document, you can do an audio recording, or you can make a video presentation. It broke down the requirements and it offered a little bit more authenticity there, a little bit more of a connection to what we're teaching, right? So offer your personal insights and analysis. Reflect on what stood out to you, right? So that was added, which I really like. Talks about submission. Okay. And it created a rubric for me. How wonderful is that? Beautiful. It gave me some grading feedback, which it didn't have, right? So it says you can expect to receive feedback within 24 hours of submission. That is an OEI, right? One of the OEI standards. And then it gave me something kind of weird, additional resources, how to use Tubi with captions. No, see, again, I need to always check my AI, right? I don't want that. So just because it gave it to you doesn't mean you're going to use everything, right? And you can always tweak it and ask it for additional refinements. So I'm not going to use this. This is not relevant to my students. The slides are, oh, I thought, okay, thank you. Helpful resources to include in your assignment. This is something also that I train the AI to do. So if it's giving you multiple options for action and expression for, like, for instance, video or audio, right? Then it'll give you resources for students to include in your Canvas page. So submit a video. Well, there's a lot of students who don't know how to submit a video, right? So it has these for you that you can put at the bottom of your Canvas page. And then a link to the film. Okay, what it didn't give me was additional resources, right? I asked. So I said, find me additional accessible resources on the American West and the lives of the people, Indigenous and Mexican, who lived there long before US takeover. So here we go. All right, so it gave me some stuff, but these are all things I have to go seek out, which I don't want. So again, I had to prompt it again, and I said, no, provide me links. You almost have to be rude with AI. Don't be afraid. Just be rude with it, right? Be bossy. Be bossy with AI. It's okay. We don't have to be collegial with AI. Okay? So provide me links. All right. There we go. I've seen Terminator. I will never reroute to AI. Exactly. So here we go. Now it's giving me some links. This is what I want. PBS Native America, PBS Latino Americans. Very cool. So this is all, and it's perfectly formatted for accessibility of the URL. I love it. Okay. Thank you very much. You did what I asked. Now I said, okay, well, now I need the code. Okay. So I said, provide me the accessible Canvas HTML code of the additional accessible resources with links. Okay, cool. So it says, sure. And what I did for you is I also put them in expanders, which I love. So I can put this at the bottom of my assignment page, and it even gave me the code for expanders. Okay, so let's copy this code, and we're going to go ahead and put it into Canvas right now. I have a page open in Canvas, and I'll show you kind of what it looks like. Okay, so if you don't know, there's this little HTML editor at the bottom. Click that, paste the code in, click it again, and you'll see what it looks like. Okay, so you can, if you click save, let me just put videos. If you click save, you'll be able to kind of close and open. There we go. So you can put this at the bottom of your assignment as additional resources. Again, no design experience necessary. You don't need to know HTML code. But what we did is we made it very visually appealing. We made it less of a visual overload, easier to digest, right, for our students, which is all part of accessibility, by the way, and UDL. Okay, so but what about my assignment, right? Can't forget about that. All right, so let's go back to the assignment.
Ellie, there's a question that relates to what you just posted, whether the links that are created by the bot, do they work?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, they should work. And if they don't, yeah, like that's another thing you have to check, right? So yeah, you should be checking those links always. For the most part, everything that the videos and things that they seek out, they work. What sometimes you do have to check is if they're properly captioned. That's another layer, but these are all like PBS and stuff. These are good. Okay, so again, there's that always evaluate AI. So, okay, let's go back to the assignment. All right, so I need the HTML code for the assignment as well, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna copy the assignment back into the bot. So all this. Copy it, and I'm gonna put it back into the bot, and I'm gonna say, provide me with, ooh, it should be accessible already, but I'll just repeat it, accessible HTML code. Okay, paste it in. See what it does. Magic. So there's my assignment. And notice starts off with H2, right? So that's Canvas, right? So it is programmed. It knows to include HTML that works well with Canvas, and also HTML accessibility formatting for Canvas as well. Okay, so you can just simply copy it, put it back into Canvas, and now you have your assignment. But you always must check your AI, right? Very good. There you go, Kelly. Good. You must always, always, always check that AI. Double check, double check. And then you use your tools. You use your Pope Tech, right? You use your Do It. You use your Ally to double check the accessibility. Okay, so that is the universal access bot. So let me show you now the accessible syllabus bot. So let me go back to my PowerPoint here. Did that. Okay, so this is the accessible syllabus bot. It revises the syllabus for accessible and UDL alignment. It changes it using a student-friendly tone. It's based off of the Accessible Syllabus Project out of Tulane University. It also adds in an AI statement. So it prompts you to it. It's not going to tell you what to write, but it'll give you a heading in there saying, hey, you should probably put a statement about AI. And it's also OEI aligned. Okay, so let's take a look at this bot. Okay, let me share this screen. Okay, so here is the bot. Everyone see that okay? Good? All right, cool. So the bot will assist in making your syllabus accessible. An accessible syllabus is clear, concise, easy to read and navigate. It adheres to the Universal Design for Learning principles, complies with ADA standards, and benefits all students. And so when you have free time, you can always read the functions and lots of detailed information about how to get started. Of course, you want to make sure that if everything is anonymous, so if you don't want to put your name in, you don't have to. You could still add pretty pictures, absolutely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a very horrible syllabus from 2013. That's mine. Okay, so here it is. It's not totally bad. I really thought it was going to be worse than it was, but I'll show it to you really quick before we modify it. So there's my syllabus. It even has my maiden name. Okay, lots of bolds. I don't know what's going on with all the bolds. Okay, so we're going to put this into our syllabus bots. Bear with me a second. And I'm just going to put it in as a file. And I'm going to say revise for accessibility and UDL. Well, it already does that, but sure, why not? Let's see what it does. Okay, so we've got a little welcome, instructor information. I did not have a welcome, by the way. Okay, it's got some phone numbers. So it pulled the phone numbers, catalog description. Okay, it kept all the SLOs. Perfect. Community goals. I certainly did not have a community goal in 2013. That was not on my radar. All right, so we have community goals. What will you need for this class? I didn't have that. That's pretty cool. Technology. Okay, I certainly didn't have any technology overview. So it added that. Canvas student guides, some Zoom resources if applicable. So that and so some of it it won't be able to have links for, but it prompts you, right? It prompts you to go grab those links. Campus technology resources, very cool. I did not have that. Here are my assignments, important dates, grading, that's all. That was there. Attendance, instructor flexibility, communication is key. Please inform me of any issues affecting your attendance. I certainly did not have that. It prompts me for a link to the college catalog. It has an academic honesty statement. Now, I used the academic integrity statement from my college at the time, right? Which was very academic and intimidating, right? And I think most students just kind of glaze over it and they're like, whatever, including myself most of the time, right? So this is just more of like a student friendly way of addressing that issue. Disability statement. I do train it to pull from your college's website. So if you're like at Victor Valley College, it should pull from Victor Valley College, the phone numbers. It doesn't always get them right. So always make sure to check the numbers. Health services, learning support, student course feedback. I did not have that. Certainly didn't have that in 2013. Wasn't even on my radar. Name and pronoun, we did not have that in 2013, right? So I added that, emergency information, diversity, equity, inclusion statement. Now, of course, you can always modify every part of this, right? If you're like, my college requires me to have that, put it in there, right? But a lot of people don't have some of these elements, so it kind of prompts you to include those. And then and it's a summary of changes, okay? And then there's that AI course policy, which I 1000% did not have on my syllabus from 2013. And so if I want this to, and then it asks you some follow-up questions if you want, but you can, if you like it and you've checked it, thank you for the check mark in chat, you could say, give me HTML, give me the HTML accessible code. You can, I should have added for Canvas, but let's see what it does. Yeah, okay. So it did start with H2, but I usually say code for Canvas. So there you go. And you just pop it in your in a page and you have a fully accessible syllabus. And of course, you can modify it, do whatever you want. If you want, you can ask it to include expanders. If you like expanders or tabs, it'll do that as well. I've coded it for that.
Elli, you have some
Okay.
interesting
Yeah.
questions that have been coming in based on the syllabus creation and the earlier iteration that you showed. So I'll read a few of them if this is a good time, or we can wait for later.
Yeah, go ahead.
So one of the questions is at what point does the additional information overwhelm the students? I think you kind of already alluded to that it just depends on what each individual is looking for. You can prompt it.
You mean for the accessibility, or I mean for the
Yeah,
accessible syllabus, or the other one?
For the other one, when you said you can ask it for additional information.
Oh yeah. You can make it concise. You could say make it concise, or I only need one, you know, like you can tailor this or none at all. It's your call, right? I was looking for more supplemental material. So I asked it for more supplemental material, but it's your call, you know, how much you want your students to have access to. Maybe you have it in link it out to another page, so it's not all on one page, right? And just say if you want additional information, and then they can, you know, access another page within Canvas.
Great.
So yeah, it's totally your call based on what you know of your students, right? So that's where that interpersonal, like that you getting to know your students and getting to know how they learn is so critical, because that's going to gauge how you're going to prompt AI.
The next question is, do you have to specify, give me the HTML accessible code, or does it do it automatically?
You have to tell it to. Yeah. You have to be bossy. And then if it's, you know, if you want it accessible for Word, you have to say make accessible for Word, right? So be specific. And I always like to include Canvas. It is coded for Canvas, but I always like to just more is better when prompting.
I see there are a few responses to this questions already, but I don't know if you want to add anything. I agree with check AI, but what if you are not sure what to check or it seems fairly accurate? What are specific strategies to check AI? Will this be covered later? And then I see a few responses on this. Gregory mentioned, I take check AI to mean check against my own knowledge and make sure the links are valid.
Exactly. Yeah, check against your own knowledge, use those tools, Ally, you do it, right? Pope Tech, the little accessibility man. So those are the other checks, right? And like I said, we still have to learn this stuff, right? Like this is not like a cheat code for accessibility. Like we need to know what's happening here and what it's doing. And we can't just say, oh, AI got it, because AI makes mistakes all the time. So there still needs to be that core knowledge there of accessibility,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
And then we'll do one more and then we can
Sure.
continue. Is there a way to link this to, for example, videos in the college library databases? I mean, for the bot to bring this up.
Video in the college library, like just to share it out?
I think they're asking if you want specific videos, is there a way to link this to?
Like the webinar, maybe?
I guess the question isn't very clear. So Allison, if you don't mind clarifying,
Okay, so we'll just keep going.
yeah.
So AI can also do image descriptions and alt text. So for instance, ChatGPT can create an image description for an uploaded image with all relevant content included. Okay, so you want to, and that's the prompt you would use, and you would say such as, and you want to put, I want all the numbers included, I want all the data included, right? You have to be very specific about what you want included. Give examples of what is relevant in the image. Like, for example, the Z scores, right? The percentages. And then if you're asking for alt text, you can generate alt text for the uploaded image of the standard deviation bell curve, keep it within 125 characters. So that would be the prompt you would use, right? So I get a lot of questions from about math, right? And a lot of the images that are a lot of numbers and things like that. So I put this in. And so let's do it really quick. Let's put it into, we're running out of time, but let me see if I can do it really quick. And does everybody know the difference between image descriptions and alt text? So basically, when I say alt text, it's going to be under a certain amount of characters. So when you have something like this that has a lot of numbers, right, and things that are very relevant to the instruction, then you are not going to be using alt text, right? Because you're limited in characters. What you're going to be using is image description. So you're going to have a description below the image with the information. So what I'm going to do here is let's switch really quick to ChatGPT. And I'm going to just upload this picture. One second. Okay. There it is. All right, so I'm going to upload this picture and I'm going to say generate. I'm going to use the prompt. Create an image description, generate an image description for the uploaded image with all relevant content included. Okay, so generate image description with all relevant content included, such as Z scores, and I don't even know what half of these are. Percentages. What do they call them? Okay, let's see what it does. So what it does is it breaks down the title, horizontal axis, right? Axis, the Z scores, the mark standard deviations, percentages. So for a student that's visually impaired, a screen reader could read this and get all that, they can get all that information to complete an assignment. Okay, and so you can go ahead and say, make this accessible. I don't trust ChatGPT as much for this, for Canvas, but you can always copy it and paste it into the universal access bot and it'll make it accessible for Canvas. Or you can try to plug it in and modify it yourself. But it has created a very nice image description. So let's see, let's have it create alt text. Generate an alt text. Now the standard web standard is 125 characters. I think You do it allows a little bit more. Somebody put Pope Tech is 100. So let's see, generating all text less. Let's just do 100 characters. Let's see what it does. There you go. Way better than the Microsoft. I don't know if you guys ever seen the alt text that Microsoft comes up with in Word and things like that in PowerPoint. Terrible, right? Way better. So if you are giving a image that has relevant content to your instruction, you need to use an image description, something like this. If you just have an image where just a kind of a short sentence describing it works, alt text. Okay. All right, let's go back. Okay. PDFs. So AI can also convert PDFs to HTML. Okay, so you can upload a PDF into a bot. I use my bot and prompt it to convert it to an accessible HTML for Canvas. Bonus, you can even ask it to remediate it for UDL, simplify the language, provide real-world examples, or organize it using tabs and expanders. So some of us, we get like all this OER content, right? And it's all PDF. And you're like, well, or maybe you don't have OER, you have something else from the web that's a PDF, and you're like, how do I make it accessible, right? PDFs are so hard to make accessible. Well, don't use PDFs anymore. Convert it to HTML. And then you can really work on the accessibility from there. That image was created by AI, by the way. Okay. And always check it. Always check it. Always make sure it's accurate. Make sure that you are happy with the output, because you are the captain. Okay, so there's more AI. We have to provide options for different modalities and for additional information. You can use Gemini AI to search OpenStax for OER content for additional enrichment supplemental material. So in Gemini AI, you just write @OpenStax and you can search OpenStax for OER content. You can also use Gemini to search on YouTube. So you write @YouTube within Gemini and you can ask it to search for videos and things. Google Notebooks, super cool. You can create a podcast based on uploaded documents. It's really awesome. How cool would it be to take all your content from a module for the week and create a podcast that students can listen to on their way to work, right? Or maybe they just learn better by listening to something. Use AI to make content accessible. Again, Universal Access Bot, Accessible Syllabus Bot, Claude AI is also very good for that. Create image descriptions we just did, and then caption videos using AI in YouTube. So the last thing I'm going to show you, I think we have time, is how to caption AI using, sorry.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, we do have a lot of questions also in the Q&A.
Okay. So let me show you this really quick and then we'll get to questions. 1 second, it's not going to take too long. Okay, so let me just show you YouTube. So I have uploaded a video onto YouTube, right? And it does not have captions. It was auto captions. So once I upload it, I'm going to go ahead and click on details and subtitles. And you'll see, here's my automatic captions. Let's take a look at them. Uh-oh, not good, right? No punctuation, right? Probably a lot of inaccuracies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and I'm going to put it into AI. And I'm going to ask it to add punctuation. Okay? Not revise it. If it revises it, say, no, I said just punctuation, because it likes to add bullets and things like that and make it pretty. We don't want that. We just want punctuation. Then you're going to paste it back into here. You're going to click save. And then there's a auto sync in YouTube that will sync it up perfectly. Okay, so that's the process. This was created or found out actually one of our faculty members at our school, Kirk Domke, he's the one who figured this out, which I think is genius. And so we're sharing it with you all. So I'm going to just go ahead and copy this. I'm going to go ahead and put it into AI really quick. I'm going to say revise it, or not revise, sorry, add punctuation. Paste. See what it does. Okay, so it's just adding punctuation, nothing else. You always want to double check it, make sure it hasn't omitted anything, right? You don't want any words missing. All right, so all we do is we just paste it, we copy this, we paste it back into YouTube. So put it right back in here. There you go, and press publish. And when I watch it, it should be fully captioned. So there you go. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a resource with you all. Let me just get to that page and then we'll always check it, of course. And so Anwar will put this in chat. This is a AI captioning guide that we created. And so it goes over this step by step, and then it also goes over some other stuff, but we don't have time to go over everything today. But this is a guide that will walk you through that step by step process. But I wanted to kind of quickly show you. Okay, questions? Any questions? Sorry, chat.
I realized I was on mute.
Oh, okay, it's okay.
So there are several questions. I guess we'll start. One of them from a training standpoint, do you recommend sharing a resource like the syllabus bot to folks while they are being trained in DE? Or would you recommend teaching the old-fashioned way first so folks have context for using the tool like these?
Great question.
Some great responses, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it as well.
Great question. And I think I spoke to Garrick about that. I do believe that you still need to have a core understanding of accessibility. You need to know what we're doing, why we're doing it. But this will help with the process and just make that process so much quicker and more efficient. But yeah, you still need to know the why because you have to check it, right?
Yeah. So the next one, that question that was asked earlier, instead of the bot bringing up free videos, can the videos come from a library database? So I'm basically wondering if the bot can be linked to library subscription resources or just free resources off the web.
Yeah, I don't know if it could be linked to library. Yeah, a subscription. I'm not that technical. But yeah, that would be something you would have to go find yourself. But absolutely, yeah, you can put anything in the assignment. I mean, it's your assignment.
Is the slideshow CCC by?
Like to share?
Oh, yeah.
Sure, you can share it.
And then is there a reason you didn't use Lottie AI for that?
I use Claude too. I like Claude a lot. I think Claude's great. Claude will do the same thing.
Okay, great. We're just zooming through these questions. Where do you place the descriptions? I'm not sure.
Oh, image descriptions?
Yeah, probably.
Usually right underneath the image. UDoIt has a pretty nice way of not UDoIt. City Labs has a nice little way, you know, what do you call it? A way of doing it where you can just put the image and then put the image description very, you know, small underneath it, but usually it's just right underneath it.
Okay, does this work for a PDF that is scanned?
Ooh, that's a little bit difficult because it scans the OCR, and if it's not a good scan, it may pick up on words you know, incorrectly.
And then what about captions in YouTube that are owned by someone else?
Oh, that's really hard. So our guidance is that you just don't use them. If it's not captioned, don't put it in your course. not human caption. Auto captions are not sufficient. They're not ADA compliant. There is a way on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, there's a filter that you can use, and you can click subtitles captions, and it'll only give you captioned videos. The other thing I recommend is you can make a video with a video, right? So like when you're teaching on Zoom, when you show a video in your class, you know, if you record that, you can do like, you can go on Zoom and you can just say, hey, everybody, so this is the video, introduce the video, maybe give some guiding questions, right? Create a framework around the video, maybe some things for them to think about, and then show the video on Zoom, right? And then at the end say, all right, guys, now let's go on to the next, you know, the questions, some things to think about. I want you for this discussion to da. So you've shown the video and you introduced it, you wrapped it up, and then now it's on Zoom, it's a video, right? A recording, you could put it onto YouTube and then do the same thing with the captions. So that's kind of a workaround. You can also ask the creator if they can caption it. That's usually pretty easy, but captioning someone else's video, you can do it. It's very nuanced. There's a lot of layers. So I recommend just try not to use them. I'll show you the filter really quick.
So unfortunately, I think we're out of time,
Yeah.
but of course, anyone who wants to hang around, Ellie, we want to respect your time and everyone
Sure.
else's time. I just have a few announcements. Thank you all so much for attending this webinar and giving Ellie your attention. Before we go, please check the chat for the survey link and take a moment to complete it. You'll receive a copy of your response, which can serve as verification of your attendance. And of course, if you encounter any issues, feel free to reach out to support@cbc.edu. I will put that in the chat. We also encourage you to explore other webinars we'll be offering throughout the term. The link for the upcoming webinars will also be shared in the chat. Lastly, this webinar and the recordings and associated slides will be available on the CBC at One webinar webpage. Please allow a few days for captioning before they are posted. Thank you all so much for joining us, and thank you so much, Ellie, I learned so much today.
Oh, good. I know it was a lot. It was a lot. It probably need like 3 hours or 3 weeks.
And I'll go ahead and drop the links in the chat. There's the link for the surveys. And the link for the webinars that are upcoming. And if anyone has any questions, you can email support@cbc.edu.
Thank you, everyone.
Great comments. Someone says you're so awesome, Ellie. Great session. Thank you. I learned a lot, and thanks for a great resource. Happy to see you again.
Awesome. Thank you. Here's the link to the slides in case anyone needs them.
So I see a question in the chat. Can I get attendance confirmation? You can, we don't provide attendance confirmation, but please complete the survey and you can use that as your attendance confirmation. And
yeah. Yeah, make captions, you'll choose to label it as auto-generated. Just looking at the Q&A. No, Google Notebook LM. There's just really so much content.
yeah, no, just the first example you gave, I think we could have spent a whole session on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All right.
How do we learn? Play
I'll
lab.
hang around for 2 more minutes. If anyone has any questions, please put them in the chat.
Is a
Or
Also, if anyone's interested in saving the chat, that feature is enabled.
Mhm.
You'll find a little document icon in the upper right corner of the chat area where you type that should let you save the chat.
Yeah, any questions? I'm happy to stick around. What I like to do is I get the transcript from my synchronous, Zoom session, and then I'll run it through AI and say summarize, make into a worksheet, make it concise, make it UDL friendly. So now I have, not only do I have the core, the session that I taught, but now I have a worksheet to accompany it or some sort of visual, which is really cool.
And I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.